seep site near Karoonda, and this particular patch is a really old scald. It's been here as long as the farmer can remember, and so it's really highly saline at the surface with lots of salt crystals, and really hasn't been growing anything for a long time. The water table probably varies between 0 to say 50, 60, 80 centimetres depending on the season, and we've measured the salinity. It's reasonably low salinity at around 3,000 parts per million. As you can see, the water just oozes out of this sandy catchment above it, and after 2016 when we had really wet seasons, this area just really exploded out the sides with a lot more salinity with the water that was coming in, but also the wind has actually taken a lot of the topsoil away as well, and because of that there's a real clay layer on the surface, which again makes it harder to rehabilitate. So we did try some sand amelioration up here with some spading in of manures and stuff like that, and while that certainly did improve the crop for years and years after that, it hasn't been enough to actually lower the water table. It's not changing the water use enough to stop that this problem here. In recent years I've just tried to get a bit of Puccinelia growing, and I've just thrown some seed around and even just planted a few plants, and the good thing is we've shown that Puccinelia will grow on here, and so certainly it will be an aim to try and cover this bare area with Puccinelia, but because it's such a severe site, it's probably going to take a number of years to get that cover. But if we can get that cover, then we'll start to change this topsoil, start to bring it back. But the other good thing is that the farmers agreed to put a strip of lucerne right across the top of this area of about 50 metres or so strip, and I believe if we do that, that'll be enough to then start lowering this water table so we can start to change this particular site back again, and with good Puccinelia coverage we'll start to improve this whole zone. This is all part of the joys of an expanding seep zone here, which as I said, we've got a long-term scald there, but since the wet year of 2016 has expanded out sideways because of the extra water that's just come through the system. Now this is reasonably recent. As you can see, the joys of getting bogged here in the clays, just with the farmer there, which often happens with these seep areas, but also the fact that the wind erosion has just blown all the topsoil away, and again that makes it harder to rehabilitate. So you've got all this sand right here banked up, so this clay would be very quickly becoming more salty through the capillary rise of the salty water to the surface. So long term we want to get this back covered again, but for me most important thing is that they're about to establish a strip of lucerne so that they can stop the flow into this area. If you can stop the flow, it makes it easier to rehabilitate this area. Otherwise, you might bring the sand in on top and then re-establish some cover over that, whether it be Puccinelia or whether it might actually, if you stop the flow, you might even be able to bring crop back reasonably soon. But if you do that re-establishment of that sandy cover on top before you stop the flow, chances are the salt's just going to come to the top of the sand, and the sand is going to be too salty to grow anything. So that's what we're encouraging at this site. Stop the flow with lucerne, and then that'll help us really rehabilitate what is now a really difficult bare scald.